three phases of the moon have different energies and different things that we can do to work on ourselves, in our magic, in our businesses, in our writing, whatever we do. If we're paying attention to the moon cycles, then we can be more in alignment with the natural rhythms of the world. Keeping the moon cycles in your awareness and what each one of the moon phases are doing helps us in our life and helps us plan our lives. Welcome. Dancing with the Goddess is how we move through and experience life as modern mystic women. I believe anyone can be a modern mystic woman and experience awe, beauty, and magic in our daily lives. I'm Tor Arishnaimun, a modern mystic, author, and book doula. Join me as we discover who we are meant to be, explore different modalities for self-improvement and transformation, and reawaken to our goddess magic and feminine divine selves. I invite you to dance with the goddess with me. Here's today's episode. In the magic system that I practice, the Sacred Goddess Path, I work with three phases of the moon. Now, I know most people only work with the new moon and the full moon, and I add another phase in there, which is the dark moon. These three phases of the moon have different energies and different things that we can do to work on ourselves, in our magic, in our businesses, in our writing, whatever we do. If we're paying attention to the moon cycles, then we can be more in alignment with the natural rhythms of the world. And we do know that the moon cycles and the moon does affect us, especially as women, but affects all of us because we are, some say 70, some say 80% water. So we're a large majority of water, and the moon affects water. So it's only natural that the moon cycles affect our bodies, affects our minds, affects our moods, our emotions. Therefore, it's a good idea to pay attention to what the moon cycles are. Pay attention to where the moon is. You can do that by watching the moon, paying attention. I've been working with the moon so much that I can usually go outside and just feel and know exactly where she is. Or you can get a moon phase calendar. There's apps for your phone that shows you exactly what phase the moon is on any given day. Keeping the moon cycles in your awareness and what each one of the moon phases are doing helps us in our life and helps us plan our lives. New moon, for instance, is things that are growing. From new moon and the waxing to full, that's a phase of starting new things, setting your intentions. When I start a new project, I like to start it on new moon. Or if I'm publishing a book, I tend to publish it either on a new moon or on a full moon because I want that power of the moon. And then from waxing, as the moon is waxing, it's growing. And then it gets to full when it's at its most powerful. We have almost a week of full moon. So we have 3 days before the full moon, the day of the full moon, and 3 days after the full moon to be working with that full power. That's when we do our most powerful spells. That's why I like to publish my books on a full moon or try and put out a program, because I'm pulling in all of that power that I want to manifest that project, want to manifest that book to being successful. So I do that on the full moon. Then from full moon, the moon starts to wane. It gets smaller and smaller and diminishes. The power is getting smaller. And that's the time to start going within. Not to be going out and doing a lot of things. That's the time to be going within, to be doing your reflecting. Is during that waning cycle. It's kind of like retrograde. Your retrograde is redo. Your waning moon cycle is when you go inside. And usually you're doing your meditation. That's when you can do your oracle cards of what do I need to change? What do I need to figure out in my life? That's what the waning cycle is. And then you come to dark moon. And this is the one that most people get confused about. And it's one that a lot of people don't talk about. And that's the dark moon. Dark moon is astrological new moon. That's when you can't see the moon at all. It is hidden by the sun. That's the time to do your releasing through your waning, but especially during the dark moon. You have one day before, the day of, and one day after is your dark moon period. And that's the time to do your releasing, to be doing your letting go. You've been reflecting on that during the waning of the moon of what you need to let go. Now it's time to really go in and focus. What is it that I'm ready to let go of, that I'm done with, that's no longer serving me? So I can, at the new moon, a couple days later, I can start bringing that newness into my life. But you've got to shed the old first before you can bring in the new. And that's what the dark moon is for, is that shedding. What no longer serves me. And that opens you up to knowing what you need to bring in. And that's what you do at the new moon. And new moon for me, under my system and my magical system of the Sacred Goddess Path, new moon is when you can see that first crescent in the sky. So it's about 2 to 3 days after astrological new moon. Usually it's in the west, right at sunset, just before sunset, right at twilight, is when you can see that first sliver of that new moon. That's when you know, okay, things are growing. This is the time to set those intentions, to start something new, to work on new things, to be doing your oracle readings, your tarot readings about what's coming into your life. And that cycle just keeps going. The moon cycles is reflected in our life cycles. You've got your new moon, that first crescent, birth. It's when you're coming in, that newness. You're starting new and fresh. Then you have it waxing and you're growing, and that's your childhood and your teenage years of where you're learning about yourself, learning about the world. That's where in your business you're learning about your business. Then it grows to fullness in your maturity, and that's the full moon. Why would you be releasing in your maturity when you're at your fullest and your most powerful? And then we start to decline. I see that in my elderly parents. I see that in myself. I'm aging. I'm not young anymore. Still think I am. But as we mature, then we start to decline. We start to wane. Our energy starts to wane. I know I certainly don't have the same energy I did when I was young. And so that's that waning of the moon. It's getting smaller and smaller until you can't see it anymore, until death, that ending. It's when things come to an end. And my parents are in their 90s. My dad's 95, my mom's 91. And I see that decline, and I know that soon they'll be going into that dark moon phase of their life, of this physical life, of death, of returning to the void of the mother's womb, where they can reflect on their life experience before they are reborn again. We can't stay in fullness forever. Things need to decline and come to a graceful end, and that's the dark moon. Only to just start growing again and rebirth and going through that cycle over and over again. We can do this on a daily basis. You wake up new and fresh every morning. That's the new moon. You have your day ahead of you to start fresh, to start on new projects. Maybe you're working on a project that you started the day before that you haven't finished, but you're waxing on that, you're growing it. You go through your day and you hit afternoon, the fullness of your day. That's when you're most productive during your day, whatever time that is for you. You go to that most productive and you get a lot of things done. And then your energy starts to wane. As the day starts to wane, the light starts to wane. And that's when you have dinner, you unwind, you relax, maybe watch some TV, read a book, play some games, whatever you do to relax and unwind. Your energy is diminishing, it's waning. And then you go to bed. That's the dark moon. You go to sleep. It's a mini death. You're ending your day. Boom. So that you can start fresh the next morning. So your sleep time is that dark moon. These phases happen on a solar basis too. You have your spring at spring equinox. You have your fullness at summer solstice, when the day and night are equal and you have more time to do things in summer solstice. And from summer solstice to autumn equinox, daylight's starting to get a little bit less. Until at autumn equinox, you have the day and the night is equal again. Now you're going into that waning phase of the year. And that's that going within phase from autumn equinox to winter solstice. That's when you're harvesting, you're evaluating what you've done. That fourth quarter of the year for many businesses, you're looking at what you've accomplished for the year, starting to think about what your goals are for the next year. So you're winding things down. Then you hit winter solstice, when the light is at its lowest and the dark is at its peak. That's the time for us to go within, to do our reflecting. And there's no wonder we have so much depression at this time of the year because what are we doing at winter solstice in the Western cultures? We're partying. We're out and about. That's totally opposite of what our natural inclination and our natural body, the natural cycle, is to go within into that dark winter, to snuggle up, to go into our caves, to hibernate, to consider what we've accomplished, to consider what we've done, and look at where we want to grow. This is time to do releasing and letting go and shedding things of the past. It's at that dark of the year. Dark moon gives you a few days to do this. Dark of the year gives you 6 weeks to do this. So you've got more time to look at, what don't I like about myself? What don't I like about my work? What don't I like about my life? What do I want to change? And be considering that and doing the work that you need to do to change those mindsets, that programming, to change how you look at things. All of that is done through until, if you follow the cross quarters, then you get Imbolc on February 1st. It's when you start seeing winter is starting to let go of its hold on the world. The days are getting longer and warmer, especially if you live in the northern climes. This is when you start considering, okay, I've decided what I don't want in my life. What do I want? What strengths in me do I want to build? What do I want in my work? What do I want in my business? What do I want in my life? And start making those preparations for it so that at spring equinox in March, you're rebirthing. You're reclaiming yourself. You're starting new and fresh. If our society were following the natural cycles of the earth and living in accordance and in alignment with the natural cycles, our calendar would start on spring equinox. I don't know why. It starts on January 1st in the middle of winter. And you're supposed to be starting new. No. It should be spring equinox if we're following the natural cycles, the solar cycles. That's when the new year starts, really is spring equinox, when things are fresh and new. Things are blooming. It has made a big difference in my life by paying attention to the moon cycles and by paying attention to the solar cycles. The moon cycles are more immediate. And there's something you can see. You can watch the moon in the sky every night. You can go outside. If you haven't done this before, this is a good practice. Go outside every night and pay attention to when you can see the moon. Where is it? How does that moon change? You can see it growing from new moon, and that first crescent starts growing and growing until it's full. Pay attention that when the moon is full, you can still see it in the middle of the day because it's so powerful and it's adding so much energy to us. Pay attention to your moods and watch as it decreases. I travel between my daughter in Southern California, where I'm currently living in Utah. I tend to travel at night when there's less traffic and when it's less hot. I live in the Southwest desert, so it gets hot. So I tend to travel at night. One of the things I've noticed is in this waning phase that when you can see the moon, you have to be up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. The moon will show up at different times during the night and in different places. When it's waning, where I see it is in the east. When it's growing, where you see it is in the west. And then you see it rising as it gets fuller and fuller in the east, and then moving across the night sky and the day sky too. If you've studied goddess symbology at all, one of the most common symbols is you have a crescent, full moon, crescent moon. That is your waxing or your new moon, your full moon, and then your waning to dark moon. So this 3 phases of the moon is reflected in goddess symbology. That symbology has been equated to Maiden Mother Crone, which another episode we'll talk about that there's 4 phases in our life now because we're living longer. I'm not a mother. I'm not a crone. I'm in that new stage. And we'll talk about that in another episode. But that 4th stage, not to leave you hanging and giving you a cliffhanger, is the matriarch. Some people call it queen. I like matriarch. I am the sovereign. I am the matriarch of my life. My daughter, my family is grown. I'm still viable. My energy's still vital. I'm still looking forward to doing things. I'm starting new businesses. I'm writing books. I've totally changed my career in this matriarch phase of my life. But I'm certainly not a crone. I have some wisdom, which I'm trying to share with you in this podcast. I see my mother, who is in her 90s, as a crone. I'm not yet, but I'm not a mother either. So we see that in our cycles as well, in our life cycles. I'm in that waning cycle, past full moon, but before dark moon. You can still see the moon. You can still use the moon's energy, but I'm not clear down into, like that 4th quarter on, which would be crone. So just a little aside there on our different cycles and the moon. So I invite you to start paying attention to the moon cycles. Watch the moon. Get a moon phase calendar. If you don't want to get an app, you can go on to Farmer's Almanac website, put in the month and the year, and it'll give you the moon cycles. And then it'll give you forward for years and backward for years too. If you want to figure out what the moon cycle was when you were born, you could use Farmer's Almanac to figure that out. That's interesting information. So start paying attention to the moon cycles. Start paying attention to how those moon cycles affect your life, affect your emotions. And start working with the moon phases in what you're doing. Setting your intentions at the new moon, the first crescent. Doing your powerful focusing at full moon. Going within during that waning phase. And then in the dark moon, going deep within, and that's like deep within. That's the reason why we close our eyes when we meditate most of the time. We're going deep within. and finding those things that it's time for us to let go of, and find those things that it's time for us to accept about ourselves. I'll be doing an episode focusing fully on the full moon and on the new moon and on the dark moon. This was just an overview of the moon cycles and how they can affect our lives and how we can start using them in our lives. And if working with the moon cycles helps you, please comment on the video, send me an email, connect with me on my social medias, and let me know how this is affecting your life. Is it helping you to be in these moon cycles, to be paying attention to them? I'd love to know. And we are complete. Hope to see you on the next episode of Dancing with the Goddess. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode and it deepened your dance with the Goddess. Please subscribe to our channel, like and share the video, and feel free to comment. This helps more women find our show. To support the show, please donate to buymeacoffee.com DWG-Pod. Your donations help support the cost of hosting, editing, and production of the podcast. We appreciate your support. May the rest of your day be amazing, and may you dance with the Goddess in love and joy.